John DiLeo. More than just a movie buff, he's a film historian. And he's the author of his seventh book now. It's called There Are No Small Parts. And it's a really great idea for a book. It's about actors, 100 different actors who had less than 10 minutes of screen time, but made a big impact in the film. And it's such a great idea for a book.
Sometimes it's just something entertaining that goes by. Sometimes it changes the plot completely, and it's sort of fascinating how that can happen.
To give people a flavor for the book, There Are No Small Parts, I thought we could look for a minute at, or 3 minutes or more, at
Right.
Marilyn Monroe's 3 minutes before she was really famous.
Yeah.
That you said kind of put her on the map.
Well, it's All About Eve, 1950. So she's been out in Hollywood a couple of years doing bits or B pictures. And in 1950, she gets two supporting roles in two big movies, The Asphalt Jungle, where she plays a mistress, and she makes quite an impression. And then All About Eve, which wins the Oscars Best Picture of the Year. So she's in this movie. And even though she's only in it for 3 minutes, which seems remarkable because, we remember her, of course, because she's Marilyn Monroe now. She wasn't Marilyn Monroe when the movie came out. But it is attention getting. And even though there's so many great performances in that movie, she's not like anybody else in it when she arrives. It's, as I say in the book, it's like everyone else seems to have a black belt in bantering. And she's just this sort of, as George Sanders says, a graduate of the Copacabana School of Dramatic Art, a sort of showgirl trying to sort of get ahead in show business, but she's obviously ambitious, but probably not a big talent. And so she comes into this world. She has some very funny lines that Joseph L. Mankiewicz gave her, but she's funny in a completely different way. And she's oblivious to most of the action that's going on around her. But when she has to turn it on, when he says, go see that producer, he can do something for you, and then she turns into Marilyn Monroe, and it's like, this I know how to do, is what, she exits. So she's sort of a wonderful she's counter to everything else that's going on. They're having this big conversation on the stairs about the theater, and she's just looking for the waiter to give her a drink. So she's very funny, and like I said, she has one more scene after her failed audition at the theater, like the next day or so, and she's bombed and she's just thrown up in the ladies' room. And when you think, like I said, for people who love that movie and remember how charming and funny and different she is from everybody else when they see that, when you tell people she's only in it for 3 minutes of a movie that's over 2 hours, it doesn't seem possible, but it's true. And like I said, from there, then she had a couple more years of those kinds of supporting roles. And in 1953 is when she breaks out in 3 big movies that make her a major star.
The fascination with her seems almost endless. Still now today, they keep doing reframing and doing documentaries.
Well, I guess there's always been, well, of course, the tragedy of an early death and the mystery surrounding it that will probably never be satisfactorily answered for the greater culture. But I'm always more interested in the question with her is, how talented was she? That always seems to be the question. Was she just someone who the camera loved, who had an adorable personality and a sweetness and vulnerability and the sex appeal, obviously, and was just movie star with a capital M, capital S. But, she famously left at the peak of her career to study at the Actors Studio and then came back and did Bus Stop, and she's amazing in it. So I always thought she obviously was very talented, and you see it in All About Eve. She was on... You have to arrive on the set.
Was All About Eve before her training, her formal training?
Yeah. No, she did it at the peak.
Did have natural talent.
She wanted to sort of catch up to her stardom with her training, and so people kind of laughed at the idea of it. But when she comes back and does Bus Stop, like I said, she's extraordinary in it. And several of the things she did after in the later years shows it was undeniable that she was talented. But it was saying that to show up on the set at All About Eve when you're really inexperienced and your entrance is a scene with Bette Davis playing a very grand person, it had to be intimidating, and she pulls it off.
It seems like people almost project on her that she could be anything that they want her. It's either she has so much talent that everything is there, or even she's a blank slate and nothing's there. You seem to think that really she has such depth that you can find whatever you're looking for in her.
I think, yeah, I mean, there's all the kind of rescue fantasy about her, of all the potential that didn't happen, and what if, and no one, of course, can answer that. But she was sort of imprisoned by the things people offered her, and maybe if I mean, there's so many variables, but maybe if there were some other roles that had come her way that she took that could have sort of taken her into another place where she would have gotten more respect. She wasn't nominated for an Oscar for Bus Stop, even though she deserved to be. She wasn't nominated for Some Like It Hot. She wasn't really given the due. Um, and so a lot of it is, again, what if? What if?
Yeah, she's being reframed now, as you probably know, as a feminist. And
Yeah.
so they're wondering today, would she have her own studio? Would she be
Yeah.
producing her own movies? What do
Yeah.
you think about that?
Um, I I I do really love her work, and I think I do think there was a lot more to it. Like I said, she was kind of not sort of strangled in, by what people's perceptions of her were and how far they allowed her to go. And then when she did The Misfits, which was a drama written by her husband, they were sort of breaking up when they were making it, but Arthur Miller. Uh, it's a very interesting movie. It's a flawed movie, but she has really great moments, but it didn't take. And if something like that had really been a big drama that was a big financial success and all, it might have altered the course of things. But the movie she died that she was making, or was fired from around the time of her death, was a sex comedy, a remake of My Favorite Wife, and that wouldn't have been going in that direction. So
That was beneath her, you think?
well, not so beneath her. It might have been totally charming and sweet, but it wasn't expanding her potential as a dramatic actress, which obviously she was interested in doing when she studied with Lee Strasberg. She wanted to prove that she was good, that there was more to her. Um,
And how old was she when she died?
she was 36 when she
36.
died.
So people like Betty Davis, they worked till she could have had a really long,
Yeah, I mean,
possibly.
I guess what she could have had more of, what would have been ideal for her was more of what was happening with Elizabeth Taylor at around the same time, where she was getting the roles in Tennessee Williams adaptations, and I mean, of course, eventually Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. But yeah, Marilyn never got on that track. But I think I said the work, there was enough good work, whether it's the early stuff like All About Eve or in a dramatic part in Clash by Night with Barbara Stanwyck, pre Marilyn stardom, and then of course delightfully funny and Some Like It Hot, and really wonderful, and as I said, in Bus Stop. So there's enough there to make the case for her ability, I
Right.
think.
So this is just one of 100 interesting stories in your book.
Yes.
There are no.
Marilyn does make the cover in the corner there in All About Eve. That's her arrival at the party.
Thanks so much, John, for speaking with us today. I could talk to you for a couple more hours. Maybe I will if you ever invite me back again. But I'm really excited with the topic, and with you, it's such an interesting place. And even to be in this room is kind of exciting because you do feel like you're surrounded by the whole history of Hollywood. So I want to thank you again.
They come back here anytime.
Thanks very much.
All right.